if the adjustments that we heard on the analyst desk from yesterday will make any course corrections here available on Chalet, as Beast Coast are still looking for their big dub. It's up now here on Chalet against DarkZero, as the bans are already starting to roll in. We'll start things off with Thatcher.
Yeah, no surprise on the initial ban here. Thatcher's still the go-to to get rid of, and this is kind of the new go-to for a lot of teams. Flores going to be our second ban, a very universally useful operator, much like the other ones that get banned out here, for dealing with pre-placed utility and a slight amount of soft breach if absolutely necessary, although utility is definitely this operator's mainstay from the way we've seen him used so far. Mira is next, once again, a fairly popular choice. Some of those Mira setups can take far too long to work past and can be deadly for the approaching attacking team, and making the utility mitigation just a little bit easier to deal with. Wamai will get knocked out as our final ban.
Yeah, I like these bans overall. I love that you're talking about with the Flores ban, especially just because I feel like we're going to see this happen more and more often as teams get used to using him on offense. A lot of these squads have been able to work him in, especially on maps like Chalet, where we see a lot of these deployable shield setups where you have 2 to 3 deployable shields, depending on if you have Goyo in or not, or what have you. But that's where Flores really comes in and can get rid of a lot of that utility, being able to blow up things like ADSs and Goyo shields alike. It just makes it really, really easy for them, and that's why we usually see it like a lot of like mute and stuff like that to try and counter that out, but that's not going to have to happen here, luckily enough. For the defense of DarkZero, they still will be bringing the mute, but that's mostly more than likely just to hold down walls and force the offense to try and clear it.
Did have the Glaz baited for a moment there. A little bit of a callback to the Gamers Without Borders charity tournament a few days ago. Saw a lot of Glaz play in there, and to be fair, it was working fairly well. Just a little bit of a basic strat, so not going to see it deployed here today, at least not yet at the NAL. I wouldn't say it's completely out of the cards, though, based on the way it was working the other day. So I'll hold my breath on that until we actually see it. So for now, just going to be your fairly standard office/bedroom setup here for the defense. No wild cards specifically with regards to the operator picks, and I would imagine since we have a fairly standard operator lineup that the setup itself is going to align with that too. And so far, I would say that's the case.
Yeah, I would say it's the case as well. We are going to have some extended reinforcements over towards the library side that are mostly set up for somebody to be playing balcony, and this is something that we usually see on the game site, especially not necessarily here. We'll see them stack up stuff inside of Piano, but not in the way that DarkZero are doing this right now. You can see Piano's completely empty. They've made some holes to try and counter out any BC members that get control of Solarium and try and push through. That's areas where BC can rotate downstairs and try and use that verticality, but most of right now is all BC trying to hold down Solarium and see if they can get Beast Coast to push in through a library hold. The good news is a lot of that utility that they have at their disposal is rotatable, all except the reinforceable walls. Obviously, the deployable shields they can pick up and move back to wherever they really need them along the site, but we'll have to see. As of right now, Beast Coast are indeed starting things off on the Solarium side, so BC under a little heat.
Nitro out, and it's perfectly placed by BC. Immediately takes out Bio. There's an attempt at a response. Doesn't work against BC, although that nade might. And there we go. Seals the deal against him with the additional kill from earlier against NJR. It's Beast Coast that come out as the winner of that trade. We may not be done just yet, though. Panba nearly gets himself into a fight by the Piano window. Backs away from it. Is going to see the Argus go in there through the window and office and take care of it before it becomes a problem for him. Seems like the fight's finally over, and we'll reach a moment of calm. So Beast Coast will hold the 4v3 for the time being.
It's looking very solid for Beast Coast right now. Nice pickup onto NJR and BC, who to sprint for his life into Solarium, but didn't have any avenues to try and exit from once that secondary frag grenade came in, so he'll lose his life as well. And now we're led to this. Beast Coast already with a cutoff for the master area. This looks to be the plant spot as well, as the case is currently laying inside of Solarium. They're going to end up opening the wall into Closet and start clearing out this area in general. Anthony currently holding on to the master closet, but they need to worry about the positioning of DarkZero. Currently a handful of members strung along this entire place, but Eclipse still down low with a possibility to try and stop a plant, but it doesn't look like they're attentive to that at all. Rudy's more than likely going to get this off successfully, and he will. Foes are going to stay on the cutoff, sipping, worried about the stalls or the bathroom area instead. This is looking like an easy round here for BC, but not if Hyper has something to say about it. He'll take down one, going for the second one, but he's going to get tagged up quite a bit. Eclipse goes in for the flank, but he can't get anything done, simply bouncing back and forth across the walls, but then Hyper will pinch out one inside a bathroom with him. It's 2v2 now for the last two remaining DarkZero members. Rudy Charity will hit the ground, but no, it's a triple kill. There's no way they get through it. Hyper for a quad kill for DarkZero. Beast Coast, he simply does not care. This man is a menace to society, and he will take down every single member of Beast Coast if he must to win a round. DZ, get round 1.
And the scoreboard really speaking for itself right there. A 4K coming out right inside of round 1. Some crazy stuff there for Hyper to immediately get on the board for DZ in a very big way and shut down that round. Things are going very well for Beast Coast in the opening few seconds as well. The initial fight is handled very well. They're able to trade out the lost player and get another kill on top of that. Just can't manage the threat coming in from Hyper, it seems, as he goes nuclear. Pick up the quad kill and set DarkZero up for a first 1 round instead. Next up's going to be Barn Gaming as DarkZero headed downstairs for their next defense.
That was a great setup there for Beast Coast as well. They had great man advantage coming into that situation, and even into the post plant, it was just overall a great situation for them. I think the biggest thing there being that they really didn't know where the last 2 remaining DarkZero members were. It looked like an assumption at the end of the day. They really weren't worried about somebody coming up on flank. Yes, they were managing the position from where they were inside of sight, but they didn't have anyone out towards Solarium to try and handle anyone rotating up the staircase or anything of the sort. So DarkZero just get enough map control back to start pinching out that area, and that's exactly what happens. The last 2 remaining DarkZero members simply end up swinging both doors at the same time for a bathroom, as well as master and get frags through that way. And obviously the biggest distraction there being, I believe, Eclipse, if I'm remembering correctly, who was there with Hyper in that situation. But it was a great distraction for Hyper because he simply got to walk in behind the enemy and take out all of the Beast Coast members, losing very minimal life in the process as well.
So DarkZero on the board. Time to see if they can keep the train rolling here. Beast Coast going to look for a quick response to that. DarkZero definitely going to be careful with regards to their early round play here. That's one area where Beast Coast seemed to excel, much like we were seeing in our other matchup too, but that can be deceiving. Teams that get ahead there don't necessarily always have the round-ending advantage, as we saw many, many times in just that last matchup. So time for Beast Coast to now take the early round control they have, hopefully maintain that, and try to push it a little bit further to net themselves their own first round. NJR with an aggressive stance here towards Piano, nearly gets himself into 2 separate fights, but ultimately just ends up backing away to head down the blue stairs.
As Kanye West once said, scary. Scary.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly what that was there for a split second. I mean, every BC member just pouring in around him. Luckily enough, he still has a safe area to work away from into the library hallway as he attempted to hold down Piano, but it's not going to be for much longer. A great read here from Yana's hologram as Anthony will run that to library balcony, but an even better shot from NJR as he'll find Bio on the roof, and that's going to be a huge pickup for them. That's all of the hard breach now gone. The rest of the squad more than likely will have to funnel or attempt to clear out this top floor and use verticality to abuse DarkZero. Either way, though, DZ continue to hold onto this top floor after that pick, and that means that BC will have to be cautious with their next move.
So Beast Coast now down, losing the early round advantage they were able to maintain for themselves inside of the first round, but so far have struggled to find inside of this second round. Hyper's position is going to be neutralized out, decides not to stick around here too, and for good reason. You can see there was a player ready to try and put some pressure on him just from the outside balconies, so good thing he gets out of there before things get too intense. They're already up. No need to push that advantage any further without a guarantee. It's a good thing now that they've moved that player back, because with the loss of NJR, there's no longer support on what would have been that player's position. So Hyper going to be able to stay alive. The 4v4 advantage going to be maintained by DarkZero, and a very quiet part of the round we will shift into here. Beast Coast with everything they need to jump onto the site except kills, as well as information on the remaining DZ players. So they've got to go for this with only 30 seconds left, but they're also to a certain extent going to be going in relatively blind. They still have 4 drones left, so they should be able to figure out something, but as they hop in, Hyper waiting. They have no idea he's here. There is a response from Fozo against Eclipse. The numbers stay even, but the time continues to get lower, and this plays more and more into DZ's favor. Panbo with the next find versus Fozo. We are going to see Hyper brought down low, but another frag found here for BC. He goes down to Anthony, but the unfortunate truth is Anthony's the last player standing, so one more trade will net the round once again over to DZ as they claim a second.
Well, if I was an inanimate object, I'd be a fan and a pretty big one because DarkZero's round there was very successful, especially with the abuse of the intel game going late into that round. That being exemplified by the likes of Hyper. He knew that they weren't going to try and drone out anything, really get any more info as to what was happening around the site. So what does he do? Well, he hops inside of Mudroom and just simply prones underneath the window. A truly alive frost mat that ends up bagging him sipping. So fantastic for him, but that was the leadoff pick that they needed to try and win that round. Beast Coast simply not having enough insight to try and take down these DarkZero members who repeatedly were able to deal the damage necessary to remove them from play. That's going to be 2-0 for DZ now after they just simply hold onto the top floor for as long as they possibly can, back it off, end up losing one in that process, but limiting Beast Coast's potential throughout the round because of it.
So let's take a peek once again at the opening setup from DarkZero, as there's still going to be quite a bit of emphasis on the positioning upstairs here for the extension. Still playing in to defend pretty much an extended version of what we see on this upstairs site, but more so trying to delay the time down so that they can avoid Beast Coast from opening up the top-down angles against the attack downstairs, where the site will obviously be actually positioned at. So let's see how this play works out for DarkZero. Once again, a lot of what we're familiar with so far here. Nothing crazy being thrown out inside of the strategy or setup department from what I can see. So here comes Beast Coast. They're out and about once again. It's looking like they're going to start with some initial control leaning towards library, although could still be pointing it towards the first floor as well here from what we're looking at.
I mean, if you really want to yell at a cloud, we can just be like, oh, Rook! Oh my gosh, DarkZero running Rook, I can't believe it, Hyper.
I mean, it's that win coefficient, bro. He's popping off recently, and no, Panbo's head's popping off. Now is Anthony's going to be able to take it from him. Once again, that's Beast Coast getting the advantage this time, and bringing us down to a 5v4 before the round even really begins there. Only about 30 seconds into it where they find that kill.
Man, don't quote me on this, but I think you're supposed to run away from the fire. I think that's supposed to be how that one works. But either way, Pambazoo's going to lose his life early on. More than likely thought the spray was done, but definitely was not. One ends up hitting him in the noggin, so DZ will be down one member as of right now. But luckily enough, those ADSs will still stick, so they don't have to worry too much about any throwables still coming in, just possibly about a refrag to try and equalize. And Eclipse is going to be on the front lines of that as multiple of those X-Kairos go off on the office wall, and it'll push back DarkZero even farther into Chalet towards the Solarium side. Now BC with the forward position instead, supported from the Master Hold right now. He's got Piano locked up with an ADS in tow. Also a Goyo Shield here to assist as they continue to try and dwindle down this timer. And they're doing a very good job of it. If Frag Grenade's going to come out, it actually doesn't eat the Goyo Shield. I believe it ended up rolling under the Piano, and that's going to eat up all of that shrapnel and prevent that from going off.
Another one going to work its way out. Once again, unsuccessful. I'm unsure if there's other utilities sitting in front of it that they were aiming to take down. That one will finally seal the deal, but that's 3 explosive utilities utilized just to get rid of that and ultimately get this kill here. Thankfully, that one comes without too much of an issue, as a lot of utility was used to open up that possibility. Beast Coast looking all right, though, even with the hiccups and trying to deal with the shields, as they bring it down to a 5v3. A little under a minute remaining, too, which might not sound like a lot of time, but under these specific circumstances, for me at least, Beast Coast are way ahead of schedule right now. NJR and Hyper, the last two standing, and Beast Coast have a lot of time to figure out exactly how to approach killing these final 2 players.
Yeah, DarkZero slow on the decision-making for these picks. They can't get Eclipse out. He's kind of just stranded upstairs, and great move there by Baya, but finally something happens for DarkZero. They'll take down Fozo as they continue to limit this time, and John, I'll tell you right now, I'm worried. Even though it's a 2 versus 4 right now, I have no idea what's going to happen inside of this round, especially with Hyper with this long angle here as he stares down the main hallway. NJR inside of Kitchen. He has an opportunity to try and stop this from happening. He'll get one. There's no way that they stop this plant from going on. It looks like Hyper wants to try for the retake. Instead, NJR will get the second one. It's a 2v2 going into the post plant. Beast Coast, there's no way that you can mess this up once again. Hyper readjusting back down low to try and assist NJR here. Looking for the verticality. Aware that somebody has to be upstairs. More than likely, Sippin will be working that, and Hyper actually going to hop too. He does indeed have one to worry about up here. It's going to be right inside a Master. Sippin takes him down, then immediately hops on top of the hatch. NJR close here, has one directly to his left, but not aware. Concussions now pouring in. This round not looking hot for DarkZero, as Anthony will pick up BC's round that they desperately needed after that plant, but a hell of an attempt there for DZ to try and bring it back.
Definitely was looking possible for a moment in the clutch there for DarkZero. The 2 players left standing, nearly able to negotiate the clutch against 4 members of BC, still up and standing, but did not work out. Lost the plot when trying to decide if they wanted to go for that upstairs flank or play it together for the downstairs retake. Got caught up there, lost the intel on the last 2 members of Beast Coast, and as a result of that, the earlier advantage that Beast Coast gained for themselves by bringing the player count down so early on in the round ended up being the thing that won them the round. So 1-2, Beast Coast finally on the board for themselves. Here we are going to have a quick 6 pick as a buck will actually be brought in. Once again, a lot of soft destruction currently coming into the fray for this matchup, and a lot in top-down angles too, specifically. So Rudy thinking he could find quite a bit of use out of the buck. I would tend to agree, but let's see specifically how it's going to be used against this upstairs hold. The DarkZero are now falling back to after completing their first site rotation.
And DarkZero more than likely not too worried about that previous round, as it was going Beast Coast's way for most of that. They get the initial pick onto Pambazoo that we saw. They start clearing out the top floor. They get BC as well on the piano position after they're able to get rid of the laser gate as well as the Goyo shield, and they already had insight onto his location as well, and that was after they had already moved Eclipse away from office. We saw them end up getting that with Bio's utility from those ex-Kairos, so just continuing to walk DarkZero back and making those situations extremely difficult, especially for Eclipse, since, you know, he can't try and occupy office anymore. There's no real attempt for him, or real area for him to try and work around to try and get a refrag. So Beast Coast is exploiting it to its fullest up until that last second where we saw the 2v2, but either way, they'll end up getting that initial round that they really needed. Now into round 4, we're going to be changing things up for DarkZero. It's no longer the kitchen dining defense, although we will have members around this area, but instead on the top floor here, we'll see what BC want to try and do with this. I'll have to worry about that Nitro Cell game from below, as DarkZero is clearly set up and ready for war.
Might be ready, but are they truly prepared? That will be the question answered over these next 2 minutes here. Beast Coast taking a step back now, but they have good read on the situation as well. Some players inserted to the building. You can see here an additional benefit as bringing the buck here is obviously he can deal with some of the utility on a top-down perspective as well, such as the frost mat we just saw isolated there. Looking like another one probably going to get called out, and I believe that is below soft flooring, so should be able to deal with it just as easily, removing that very tricky obstacle for the hop-in and obviously making the chances of getting the kill on entry that much better for Beast Coast here. Speaking of which, we've just seen their first player start to move in, although a bad note here as Rudy, a very important piece of the utility for Beast Coast, now gone away. DarkZero take the advantage and push it even further. Eclipse going to find a pick with the Nitro Cell, knocking out Fozo. Another entry coming in from Anthony, but 2 people have already died trying to move in through here. Could be a 3rd soon if Anthony's not cautious. He tries to jump into the fight. There we go. BC secures his personal 2nd. The team's 3rd on the round as Sippin and Bio now the only ones left standing.
Boys, why are we going hunting for these picks when we're down people? We can't be doing this. We're going to lose yet another, and no refrag attempt here for Beast Coast, so it's a 2v5. And obviously, Sippin and Bio have to be self-sufficient here. There's literally 0 drones. Bio will get the initial frag, luckily enough, onto Eclipse, but still a serious hold that they need to try and get through. They have the utility to attempt to do it. They've at least cleared out some mute jammers and also have some concussions to try and find some of these DZ members, but the issue is now, is since they're in this 2v4, DarkZero can continue to have people waltzing around the map, and I believe we actually have a flank coming towards Sippin here soon, as he's going to clear out Piano. He's actually got a Piano player currently standing on top of the Piano. He can't hit the shots. Hyper will take down one with the frost mat, as no one's apparently going to... I'm just going to shut up. Okay, the round's going to go the way of DarkZero. BC lose because they can't look at the floor.
Well, if anything, your comedic timing's on point, Stokes. That was pretty good. But yeah, Beast Coast... Their footing, unfortunately, not on point right there, says Biologic. Very much walks right into a frost trap at the intense situation. Can't blame him too much. But considering that they were actively hunting those down earlier in the round, I think that specific one had been pinged. It's a little unfortunate. Don't want to harp on it too much. This one move on pretty quickly from that. It's going to be a Bar Gaming defense from the folks over here on DZ, as we'll see them move into their 5th round, trying to solidify a solid half for themselves. 5-1 is absolutely in the cards here if they continue to dominate.
Okay, so Beast Coast What is happening with these offenses right now? I mean, we've seen two actually quite strong offenses. They've been able to at least barter for some early picks as well that have led to some positive things throughout their rounds. But I think that the biggest thing for me right now, John, and if I'm getting the round wrong, I sorely apologize, but I believe it's round 2 where Beast Coast actually ended up getting that plant down. And then we saw DarkZero with a fantastic retake in a 2 versus 4 situation where things just really weren't played out by Beast Coast correctly. As what we're used to seeing, you know. It was a retake from DZ on both sides, simply just pinching with their last 2 players and able to win out all of those engagements because of that, shaking down the last few Beast Coast members to gunfights that they really had no chance trying to win and ended up winning out that situation. It feels though that DarkZero are starting to come into their own on these early engagements. Beast Coast simply not able to fight back, and when they attempt to, it's not truthfully in the right way. They're putting one person out there and trying to see if they can get anything done. There's no refragging. There's no true like team synergy around that. How do they try and get around this up against DZ now? Do they need to try and just clear out one section all as a team? I mean, what do you see as the next step?
Well, the next step here right now for Beast Coast still going to be to try to secure that early advantage for themselves. We saw earlier on they had great control, it seemed, over these situations, but that only lasted for the first round or two. As we've gotten later and later into this half, it truly seems like DarkZero has gotten the better read of this situation and continues to grow more and more aggressive, only forcing Beast Coast to play more and more passively. Beast Coast finally negotiating themselves some initial control towards the inside of Office, but this is a small gesture. We're going to see quite a few of the X-Kairos charges used as well. Bio already using 2/3 of them with 6 charges out of the total 18 remaining. And this is before upstairs presence has even been dealt with. Hyper still a problem outside of the library. There's even another addition deeper in library too that they probably won't expect. Hyper a little bit too close to the fire though. Loses a lot of HP, and then Sippin will finish him off as he peeks into his angle. Sippin is also very much aware of the spot from Panba around the corner, so he's not going to be as sneaky here as he thinks he is. The good news, though, for Panba is he has a very quick fallback to his left if he can get to it.
Oh, that's the main issue, actually, is if he goes for that hatch, he more than likely is going to get shot. I don't really know how this is going to break down for him. He can try and slip in to the close side. That might end up getting that swing in from Sippin. Either way, it seems like he wants to try and hold on for a little while longer before he drops, which he will right now, and leaves it down to the last minute. Love this decision making here from DarkZero. It's a 4v5 right now, and they've at least been able to slow down BC. They'll give up map control going into that last minute like we were talking about before. So now Beast Coast need to try and set up upstairs and find some more picks. Just like that, Pambazoo will at least make the adjustment to the mid-level, but still gets taken down. It's a 5 versus 3 now for BC.
4v3 as Eclipse, and now NJR to equalize it all the way. Pick up very important kills. It's happening again. Beast Coast with the early lead, but squandering it as they get closer to the site. DarkZero just far too ready for the challenge. Rudy, at least, with a good pickup here. Spots the rotate from NJR, gets directly in the way of it, blocks it off. Eclipse now going to rotate in here. See if he can get in the way of this eventual hop, and BC trying to do the same exact thing. Anthony with another very important kill. BC truly the last player really standing here for the DarkZero roster. He's gotten the first kill. Rudy didn't even have a good idea of where it was coming from at first, but the duck, the dodge from Rudy to clutch it out gives Beast Coast another round. Finally, just when it looked like we were going to run the full gauntlet in the favor of DarkZero. Instead, Beast Coast reply, and we get a lot closer at 2-3. A 3-3 scoreline now possible if Beast Coast win this final round.
Very lucky moment there for Rudy. Just crouches under the last shot from BC there and able to get that frag. Beast Coast, though, making me sweat right now, guys. It's very, very worrisome what is happening inside of these low-timed executes. We've seen them be able to barter for site control and get a plant down prior, but that round especially is telling of what's happening inside of these last minutes, or the last minute, rather. It's that they really don't have an insight as to what's going on site. They're not really using their drones to figure out where people are, what the main positioning is, or anything like that. Yes, they are abusing their verticality, and they'll end up getting a kill because of that, But that round almost went DarkZero's way again when they had a clear advantage. That was a 5v3, I believe, going into that, and then all of a sudden DarkZero just start claiming frags off of all these angles that Beast Coast are peeking. The reason that's happening is because they don't know where any of these DarkZero members are. So you have to have that when you're going in for those executes, otherwise you're going to continue to run into this obstacle, which is losing members to these angles that the defense are able to find. So, you know, for Beast Coast, fantastic round for them, but it's more up to Rudy than anything. But DarkZero, well within their right to try and make this 4-2. I'm looking for the change-up for BC here inside their info department.
See if it'll all work for DarkZero as BC spawn out yet again, and DarkZero still heavily deployed to the second floor to try and extend their presence, although this has been working to a bit of a mixed extent so far on the inside of this half. Beast Coast have taken the advantage in quite a few rounds, and DarkZero have obviously had their own stride, so no definitive winner anymore inside of this part of the round. It very much extends to the other parts too. Beast Coast started to shake things up in the late half. That great clutch coming out towards the end of the round there for Rudy. To be fair, another situation that should have been much more convincingly under the control of Beast Coast, but they still managed to negotiate it due to the nice play from Rudy, and are now one round away from potentially tying this up at halftime. So I'm gonna ask for much better the situation for Beast Coast, considering everything leading into this matchup. With the first minute out of the way, the initial battles of info as well as utility destruction have been done by Beast Coast. We can start to see them begin to make some real progress and start to contest the upstairs players here from DarkZero.
Well, I better start here for BC. You can see the info game working out for them, Anthony. A little bit of an overstep there. Yes, indeed, they're still there, and they still want you dead, my friend. Don't step too wide into that angle trying to cook up that frag grenade. I believe he was able to at least clear the utility inside of Piano, but maybe not. We'll have to see. It actually goes wide here, so the deployable shield will still be there, and actually ended up going towards Pambazoo's position. But, oh my! Sippin! He simply sprays through the master window and takes down 2 DarkZero members. You know, is it Christmas in July? What is happening right now?
Oh, no,
Eclipse might end up going down as well. BC will at least see him start to push forward inside a bathroom, and Eclipse chooses to abandon the area, but the cutoff's already been established from Beast Coast. This is looking like their honestly strongest round throughout this so far. It'll be a triple kill for Sippin, working the east side of the building.
Sippin's just the one-way dominator right now, it seems like, until he goes up against NJR, of course, who finally starts to put these Beast Coast players down on the ground. Sippin the first to fall. That's after he contributes 3 kills, of course, so can't really blame him in that situation. But Rudy starting to establish top-down angles. Here's the problem, though. They're splitting their players up. This is how they lost control, nearly lost control, of the last attack against this site here. DarkZero now bringing it down to a negotiable 2v3. NJR is shot there, but it's against the Gemini, so nothing truly lost from the situation. The position has been revealed. That's something for Beast Coast to act upon, especially if NJR does not end up moving. Another nade jumping down. Not going to be in the correct spot, though, so no serious damage done to either of the remaining defenders here. As the timer continues to tick down, and Beast Coast get closer and closer to null timer. There's going to be the first attempt to get a plant. Seems to be going well, but Hyper trying to come in for the interruption. Can't get it done. Rudy stops it again from up on top, and that is going to be the 3-3 scoreline at halftime as Beast Coast rebound in the final 2 rounds.
Well, Beast Coast put the icing on the cake right there at the end, John. That's the best offensive round that we've seen from them. Granted, they were given a gift early on inside of that round of the double that we saw from Sippin on the master window, but that's neither here nor there. What matters is Beast Coast were able to actually push that into a proper advantage, leverage a plant, and secure all of the frags as they tried to simply rotate in. There was really nothing that Hyper and the rest of DZ could do in that scenario. They were locked into Kitchen as well as West Main. Couldn't even really try and rotate up Solarium and try and retake that top floor. It was try and win those initial gunfights and see what you can possibly make happen, but as we saw, that amounted to not very much. It's a tie between the two right now here on Chalet, and that's exactly what we would expect given how Chalet regularly plays. But now Beast Coast on defense, and they'll be starting us off on the top floor.
So same notes being taken here for Beast Coast right off the bat. We've got the deployable shield up on top of Piano so that players can extend into that room and continue to play behind that. Some support more than likely going to come on this wrap around that Biologic is playing behind. Other elements will get extended more than likely over towards the library area, but so far from the way this is being set up, once again, your fairly standard upstairs hold as those final pieces of utility and reinforcements go down onto the ground, and Beast Coast prepare for their first defensive round. It's going to be interesting to see how they try to take this, a pretty nuanced approach to it was brought to the table by DarkZero. Some aggression in some rounds, other rounds more of a passive hold. So let's see if Beast Coast will give us any immediately detectable type of strategy right from the beginning of the round.
And we'll have to see. I mean, the overarching strategy for both of these teams is fairly straightforward as to what we see usually inside of this map. I think the thing that stands out the most for me across both of these squads has got to be Fozo on the Echo, an operator that we don't get to see nearly as much as we used to, and that's mostly due to his change to his yokai drones, but he's still very potent when used correctly, so we'll see if Beast Coast can get some post plants done or possibly have some influence over some gunfights with those sonar blasts. As for DarkZero, though, this is looking to be a routine setup across the board. Have a possibility to really get an early pick here, but not going to be the case as of right now. He's worried about somebody possibly going up top. You can see the Z-pings coming out. They know Pambazoo is on the side, but he's simply going to repel to pop the bathroom window instead. And we could have a game of chess here going on, John, as it's sound cues all around to try and mess with each other, and you can see the mental warfare going on in between these two. Pambazoo, we're now worried about a run out, but Rudy instead continues to play blue, and this is just one of those things that the defense tries to use to make the offense slow down just a little bit, make them second guess where positioning is, give them some sound cues, try and throw them off their game.
Yeah, Rudy, more than anything, I think just trying to bleed some time off right there,
Exactly.
and it worked out perfectly. Makes his opponent take second guess upon every move he makes, so Panba takes another 20 or so seconds to accomplish the job he's trying to do there. That's exactly the type of time that Beast Coast are trying to waste, as they haven't had the best luck inside of just outright open duels versus DarkZero for this game. Now, obviously, that could change up drastically as the sides have flipped, since we've seen the last fight between these two teams. But still, Beast Coast isn't feeling 100% confident. They're now on the defense, and they can use these types of tactics to bait out more and more time away from DarkZero's pool and ultimately try to win on a delay tactic, which many teams have used in the past here. Very much the play style for Beast Coast, as we've seen no aggression from them whatsoever. At the same time, we haven't seen a whole lot of forward momentum from DarkZero either. DarkZero have been taking their sweet time as they're focusing very much on the Solarium push to get them directly into the site.
This always really worries me, especially when the defense has so much utility like BC have. Still have Nitro Cells to be able to play prevent as well as Biologic. He'll finally go down. Nicely placed frag grenade there from Pambazoo, so one of those smokes no longer going to exist, and that was going to be the pick that they actually needed to work their way into sight. Now they need to worry about these yokai drones, but if they start going for plants early on enough, then they'll more than likely know that those are there. Rudy, though, with a beautiful find onto Pambazoo, is trying to hop inside the window, but DZ have taken control of most of the site. It's all up to Fozo to try and hold it down inside of office, but he's been eliminated as well. Sippin and Anthony, the last two that remain for Beast Coast, and Hyper with some beautiful positioning down low. He knows the Valkyrie's close, but Anthony wins out too instead. He's going to start making his way towards Solarium. He's the last remaining member of Beast Coast, and he has an opportunity to stop this plant. He can't find it. NJR on the bed takes him down as he immediately gets to the mantle at the very last second. Literally 3 seconds in between him peeking the top of that staircase and him swinging inside that window. It's down to the seconds for Rainbow Six, but it's a round for DC.
Everything exploding in the final couple of seconds there. Beast Coast and DarkZero both trying to take it to the limit of the timer before being forced into a play. DarkZero seemed to know that the Beast Coast were eventually going to commit, or that they had the utility. DarkZero, this has to force Beast Coast out into the open, and that's exactly what they did. Picked up a solid 2 to 3 of their first initial frags in the round there in order to open up entry attempts for them and flood into the site to pick up the rest of them. Still very close, as Stokes was just mentioning there, as it came down to the 2v1 and a null timer post plant. But regardless, they get the job done. They maintain the lead, although only by 1 round. And now we go to another site to see if Beast Coast can get their own response. A much more centered defense, more than likely going to come out this time. Won't have to worry about the intricacies of their movement as much on this site, but still, don't get me wrong, can be very brutal if DarkZero plays the same type of play style as they did back in round 7.
Yeah, DarkZero are doing a fantastic job of taking out the strategy of Beast Coast. I think that's the biggest thing inside of that round. The priority of who to remove from sight there being the thing that I want to highlight, because obviously with those frag grenades, you can really put them wherever you want to. At the end of the day, you are chucking them into sight, but they choose to turn and burn the area in which Bio's playing, and that's going to be the main center pillar of that defense. Having the toxic smoke to be able to delay DarkZero from pushing into Master and trying to get a stronger clear or a stronger hold on in that area is exactly what they needed to do. But being able to take him down and even removing that last smoke, guys. So that last one, he had one more denial, which would be 10 seconds of smoke, was possibly the difference maker between Beast Coast winning that round and losing it. So fantastic on DarkZero to strike when the iron was hot and end up claiming that round. But they had to do it yet again here inside of round 8, and both of them still have quite a long road ahead of them if they want to try and win this. But now it's DarkZero as it's opening yet again here. Already 40 seconds in, and it's a clear going through the basement. Drone's already spun up for DZ and Eclipse in the area. He's currently sitting inside of blue, seeing if any BC member wants to try and rotate down the blue stairs.
Continuing to wait that out and probably will for some time here. Only a minute off the clock, so plenty of working time left for DarkZero to figure things out as well. Play this patiently. They know that Beast Coast have over-aggressed in the past, so if they can take any kills as an advantage from that, they certainly will be taking the opportunity. This is DarkZero we're talking about, one of the most patient teams in North America, so they would be the one really to fall into that playstyle more than anyone in this league, in my opinion. About another minute gone from the clock here. DarkZero still, though, taking that very, very solid stance, continuing to wait things out. You can see they've got drone intel to support this play style, too. You can see that they've got a few players inching towards their positions, but never close enough for an outright peak, so no action has transpired as of yet as we finally go over the halfway mark in the round.
Well, this round going quite slow, my friend, and I can probably tell you why. Nobody wants to make a mistake. They know how close this engagement is overall, and nobody wants to be the one to make the critical error and give the other the advantage, but it'll finally happen. Bio with the oversight as Hyper will take him down. Rudy continues to try and defend blue. He's got two DarkZero members around him as he's attempting to hold on to this Goyo shield. He'll rain a Nitro Cell down. Does it deal the damage? It doesn't. Trying to bounce around. He'll take some damage, not even from the shield. Apparently some fire retardant shoes on. They're going to keep him out of that instead. Bio and BC now both down. Eclipse trying to pick up something with the SMG-11, but instead it's going to be the damage from Hyper to take down Sippin. It's now a 4v2 as Beast Coast attempt to hold on to site. Anthony with some off position over towards Dining, as well as I believe his last remaining defender upstairs, but he'll be eliminated as Eclipse is doing a bang-up job of holding on to blue. They know where Anthony is, and it's Hyper to deliver the dagger to the heart that takes Beast Coast out, as they don't even look like they're playing in the same league inside of that last minute.
It's the killer cross once again from DZ to shut out those final players. It was a little bit rough there at the start as they lose an initial player on the way in, but are able to very quickly correct that. Beast Coast try to put their own aggressive foot forward and pay the price. DarkZero had players on drones that entire time, had more than likely full intelligence about what the setup from Beast Coast was doing. All DarkZero needed was an opportunity, and they finally get it inside of that last minute. Kills start rolling their way. They follow it through and are able to get into the site to take control once again in a very similar way to how they played out round number 7. So they now maintain a lead at 5-3. We're going to see a pause called from Beast Coast, and a very much needed one here too. 2 rounds in a row lost in a very similar fashion. Clearly something is going wrong for Beast Coast here, so let's figure out what it is before it sends us into an unwinnable situation.
Well, DarkZero are simply just getting enough constriction around the site to make it very difficult for Beast Coast to try and battle back. And that's kind of in the early game, right? Beast Coast aren't necessarily trying to stretch DarkZero thin. They're doing their own thing inside of that first minute and a half. And eventually we reach this point where DarkZero already have their angle set up and they're prepared for the frags as well as the refrags to come through. And that's exactly what happens inside of that engagement there. We see Hyper end up getting the first pick, and then DarkZero start taking control of things immediately. They take control of blue. They start trying to battle out, the defender up top, getting rid of that Goyo shield and taking fights across the board and win out almost every single one of them. All of a sudden, we're down into a 2 versus 4, and Beast Coast are spread thin. They have a single defender upstairs and the other defender not even being on site, John. He's all the way over inside of Dining. So DarkZero effectively box out Beast Coast out of their own site.
Some very impressive stuff there from DarkZero. We're going to see them more than likely follow through with the same type of play again. The reason why they can't execute it on this same first floor site here towards the kitchen now, as they can take up those outer site positions by Solarium, as well as the windows leading to the inside of Trophy. They can establish these same dramatic cutoffs that they've had for the past 2 rounds and punish the first wrong step from Beast Coast. So let's see if they're going to try to go for that same type of thing again, or if there's something a little bit more straightforward in the cards this time for the DarkZero roster.
Quick update from the analyst desk here, folks. Thank you so much, Jesse, for this little tidbit of information. A loss here for Beast Coast would make them the first NAL team ever to lose 10 games in a row. That's a pretty sad one, so make sure you guys have your tissues out if you are a Beast Coast fan. I'm sorely sorry, but the good news is, guys, is when you're at rock bottom, there's really only one direction to go, and that's up. That's what we're hoping for Beast Coast. Just to remind you guys of the story of BC so far throughout this season, is that they're basically in a full-on recreation in and of themselves. They've picked up Bio, new IGL, trying to bring some more leadership to the team as they try to figure out what's wrong with this squad, and they've done a pretty good job of it so far, but, you know, it's mostly just been, they've been able to pick up big rounds up against some of these big teams, but they haven't been able to actually secure a win, and that's the biggest problem. They need to be able to find these dubs, and I know that might be the most simplistic thing to say, but, you know, it's just, for Beast Coast, this has been one of the hardest tasks for them throughout the season. They show signs of life, but they cannot recreate it time and time again. We'll see if they're able to do so here inside of round 9. They've already burnt a Nitro Cell quite early towards Solarium, but DarkZero still in the early beginnings of setting up their round.
So for DarkZero, seems like we were right about them trying to deploy in a very similar fashion to the inside of this round. As Stokes just mentioned, we're very, as far as DarkZero is concerned, very early on in their strategy here, as even though we've already used up half the time in the actual round itself. Eclipse, the first person to actually set foot to the inside of the chalet here, as he's going to take control. Yeah, that's weird. Beast Coast had like this whole extended setup there, but no one's there when the entry is made from DarkZero. So I don't know if there was utility to play against that we missed that forced that player away, or if they're just gonna end up kind of wasting all 3 of their ADSs here in the round. Either way, they're gone now, so utility mitigation going to hurt a bit. Now, mind you, they still have the gates to play off of, and those are pointed much more towards the site here. Things are gonna start out well for Beast Coast also, as a Nitro Cell leads to a pick against BC himself.
Oh, Fozo, that's taking quite a bit of damage. Can he get one, though? He'll at least be able to assist taking down BC. We saw him on that cross angle, making BC's life a little harder instead of Solarium when that Nitro Cell did go off. But it's a 4v4 now. Eclipse with the possibility to pick up yet another frag. They'll down Biologic inside of Kitchen as he's having to work against 2 separate vertical angles. Some poor positioning will get him killed. Beast Coast now down into the 3 versus 4 with 30 seconds remaining. This is exactly where DarkZero wants them, but can BC bounce back? We see Anthony still with an opportunity to try and push towards that top floor and go for the clear of these vertical players, as Sippin and Rudy last to remain inside of the bomb site. They'll be holding up inside of Kitchen, but Pambazu takes down one. Can he get Sippin? That shot seemed to fly out of nowhere. He has to work his way into the hallway instead, and NJR's already putting the plant down, but where is it? There's no one up top to try and prevent it from happening either. Anthony working his way downstairs. He'll be able to at least pick up one. It's a 2 versus 3. He starts to tag up the Yana pistol out. He can't win the engagement, and Eclipse hits the deck, sends the bullet right into his chest, and BC cannot get it done. DarkZero up and onto map point.
Like Anthony was going for like a 360 shot right there or something for a minute.
Why does it come so late though, John?
Yeah.
Why does it come so late? Like, guys, you have such great ideas. Just do the idea. Like, I'm a little frustrated with them, man. I really am, because it's like they have such good stuff going on, John. They just don't do the stuff. Like, listen, I hate to break it to you, but if you're gonna leave that area inside of Solarium with 3 ADSs, nobody even threw any utility at you. They don't even have the counter angle in the bottom of the area yet, and you just leave. Why wouldn't you just grab the ADSs if you're not going to play the area anymore? You dedicated 3 ADSs to the same spot that you never even used. That's just so frustrating.
So, Beast Coast struggling to find footing on the inside of this half. About to lose it without picking up, as far as I'm
about to lose it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, all right, I'll take over here for a minute. You can get a glass of water.
Go cool down real quick.
Beast Coast, in the meantime, have failed so far to pick up any rounds, as far as I'm aware anyway, on their defensive half. DarkZero has been running a gauntlet throughout the course of the previous 3 rounds that have been played out. They're about to complete it with a 4th round here. It's going to be a basement defense as well. Now, this is a true Hail Mary for Beast Coast, given the low win rate for defenders on this site. They are reaching deep into the strat book for this one, so let's see how it pans out.
Honestly, how deep can it possibly be with this site? I'm going to pull up the official percentile, but the last time I checked, I believe this site was below 50% win rate. But either way, this is going to be the last-ditch effort here for Beast Coast, and this basement site, very difficult. I'll just give you guys the regular rundown that we usually talk about. It's the wine cellar side that makes this site so very difficult because of the 2 walls that are inside of that site. If DarkZero get access to it, it's almost impossible to try and fight back up against the cross angles that they're actually going to be able to have. So we'll see how DZ fare inside of this one. We're 30 seconds in, and they're beginning their top floor clear. That's beginning inside of library. They're going to have NJR on the counter angle over towards Ego to hold that down and just make sure that no BC members upstairs try to escape.
Sippin does get spotted out by some of the initial aggression there, but he's going to fall back pretty quickly towards the other side of the map. No control for DarkZero over on the Solarium side currently, so they have free reign here. Panba going to start drifting close and actually does see Bio get some damage onto him too. Both players trade just about evenly, but Anthony, a smooth flick there on the shotty to take out Panba. He was waiting in the wings the entire time. You guys probably saw his silhouette in the corner, was waiting for the opportunity to jump, and that's it right there. Finally starting to get in the face of DarkZero. Beast Coast making the unexpected play. That's what we need to see more of from this team. Works out great there, but it's only given them that early advantage, and we've already seen Beast Coast have and lose the round with this multiple times. So it doesn't mean much just yet.
Seen a lot of love for Anthony across the last few weeks for Beast Coast, and I have to completely agree with all of you. Anthony is definitely the standout player for Beast Coast, always making the plays and from a position that we don't regularly see. Fozo going to get taken down inside of games, or at least the back stock, as BC gets a big frag. Sippin trying to find a angle in towards the stock area, but he's already vacated the premises, and now DarkZero begin their work on Fireplace Hall. They're breaking up the flooring and getting rid of that hatch, but they still have one lurker upstairs. That's going to be Bio, currently inside of dining. Does possibly have access to 2 members of DZ here if they're not attentive, but more than likely will be. Have a possibility of a drone being inside of here, but it's DarkZero still to try and break up this floor and find some frags, but now it's Bio who ends up getting it. It'll take down NJR. That's the Capitao that we saw going towards blue.
BC, unfortunately, too low HP to actively contribute to the push itself, so he's going to try to take up an angle and punish anybody that might swing it from Beast Coast. Problem is, Beast Coast are taking DarkZero for a ride right now, making them think they're holding on over towards dining room while quickly falling back to the site at the same time, wasting another player's time. Okay, Hyper, that's free as can be right there. Rudy's feet just sticking out. An easy feast for Hyper. But now, in the 3v3, what do they do from here? Well, Sippin's going to find one from the corner. Anthony as well picking up a kill. That brings it all on to Hyper. In a 1v2 with only 3 seconds left, he tries to make the play. There's the first kill. Is he fast enough for the second? No. Anthony shuts it down. Beast Coast survive for yet another round as they try to fight back against the inevitable, it seems, with DarkZero inching closer to victory, but not this time.
50% success rate on the basement overall here, John. There's only 2 rounds played before this series, and that'll be the 3rd round that we have on the basement, as well as a successful one. So a little bit of assistance inside of that win rate delta as well, but actually Master Office being the worst bomb site on this map currently with a 32% win rate. So we'll see if BC fare better here, as it will be going to said bomb site, but a beautiful one nevertheless inside of that round. And we got to chalk it up to this, John. They're finally making their plays on defense. This is something that we've been wanting to see from Beast Coast. They're starting to catch DarkZero off guard. They get the initial pick there from Anthony with a beautiful flick with that M590 on blue. blue to take down one, but then we see Bio with a late lurk inside of Dining that DarkZero oversighted, did not see him in there, and he ends up taking down NJR as well. So some big picks here for Beast Coast that lead to a round win. That's what we need to see from them. Start doing these things that DarkZero aren't necessarily ready or aware of, and get those early frags, because that's how they're going to slow them down. The previous rounds, BC or DZ, excuse me, have practically just been able to do whatever they want with the first minute and a half, 2 minutes, and then we get down to this execute moment where Beast Coast are locked into sight. They don't have an avenue in order to try and get out, and it just makes everything very messy for them.
So here's going to be the potential issue for Beast Coast. A lot of the early advantage they get on that round is the result of having fallbacks set up for those aggressive players so they can quickly get out of any potential dangerous trade situation and fall back to the site. Since we're heading back upstairs to the second floor, those are not going to be as easily available to the Beast Coast players for this site. You can see they have a route out of their site itself, but save from that, there's not easy options to escape a lot of the current positions that Beast Coast are more than likely going to play into in a late round scenario. So considering that, if they're forced into fights versus DarkZero again, this could unfortunately, for the Beast Coast fans out there, of course, still end up going very handily into DarkZero in the late round scenario. But let's see, because obviously Beast Coast has been making up their own plans over the last few rounds and may have come up with something to make this work.
I'm quite worried coming into this round as well, and it's mostly because of what happened the previous time that we were here. BC did a great job of delaying DarkZero up until we saw them take down Bio inside of sight on his last toxic smoke as well, and DarkZero immediately hopped to, end up taking down quite a few BC members, and end up getting a plant down, all for their pleasure. So easy done for them, and now Anthony with 2 big frags. Hyper will be able to refrag onto 1. Did he actually end up getting back in? They go for the run out down low with, I believe, an impact. Great play from them that ends up picking up 2, and DZ not prepared. I honestly love this play when it comes down to it. They end up having the cross ready, but Pambazoo out that range, it's going to be a headshot or nothing, especially with the G36C. It's just such a low damage rifle in comparison to the rest of the field, and in a gunfight that far away, it's going to be difficult to try and tag somebody up for their entire HP bar.
Once again, it's the unexpected play that nets Beast Coast an advantage here, and in this case, very unexpected play as the hop out from Garage. Panba, though, an ace with the nades here, is going to be able to trade out onto Bio. That re-equalizes us into a 3v3, as unfortunately Anthony, as good of an aggressive play as it was from the Garage downstairs, does get traded. So one more clean kill from DZ, and they're right back into seeming control over the situation, although that can still change. Hyper so low here now, with the case in hand as well, at sub 25. Beast Coast still have full HP on all 3 of their remaining players. Who's going to be the one to take the risk here for DarkZero? Who's going to be the one to hop in? We need an answer soon. We're at 40 seconds left. Drone's going to run past Rudy and confirm his position, but they can't do much about it. He's got an ADS for safekeeping. The Gemini is going to once again confirm that as well here. Now the actual swings working their way out. Rudy sees the feet. Doesn't exactly have the angle to take a shot just as of yet, but that'll happen soon. More damage onto Panba. He goes super low now as well. NJR even taking some heat here too, as he's at under 75. DarkZero need a win, and they can't seem to find it in any of these fights. Beast Coast are just holding on after their earlier advantage, but they still think DarkZero, this has found an opportunity to plant. They now need it to go through all the way, and unfortunately the HP of these players just not holding on for long enough. The case goes down, but Hyper is immediately dropped, and Beast Coast will get their 5th on the board. We're going all the way to round 12 to settle this.
Very well done from Beast Coast there, and the run out works, John. It's a surprising play that ends up taking down 2 repelled on the Solarium side, and that used to be something that we used to see all the time on the old Chalet, trying to counter out the master balcony angle or just run out there to get some early spawn peaks running down from campfire. But obviously since the remake, that isn't something that we see happen as often, but can still be abused to try and worry about those Solarium repelled players. That's what BC will do. They end up getting 2 big frags because of it, and a round off of the back of those efforts. Beast Coast draw 1 round closer to tying us up and pushing us into OT. After a great defense of the master bedroom as well as the basement, they have to complete their site triangle, and they're headed towards kitchen dining.
So DarkZero seemed to be in control of the situation, but Beast Coast have found the answer, and it's, guys, let's just swing. Let's just take the fight to them. Obviously, you know, kind of oversimplifying things a little bit. There's a much more nuance to it, but overall, this strategy of Beast Coast kind of trying to have their players unexpectedly get into the faces of DarkZero when the moment is right. That plan has been working beautifully. At minimum, it's been taking just enough time off the clock for DarkZero to where they're struggling to make these late round executions work. Previously, they were working fine, but that was because they had usually all 5 players still alive, as well as their full attention focused on setting up that execute for the first 3 minutes of the round. So considering that Beast Coast have found a way to now distract DarkZero from that, it's definitely starting to script the strategy a little bit. We need to see if it goes all the way, though, with this final round.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that the one thing that's always stood out to me when looking at DarkZero as a roster is that they're an amazing team. No matter, pick a time. The team has always been very, very good. I think the thing that always stands out to me is how teams beat them is that they start to get messy. What I mean by that is the rounds don't go the way of like a traditional Rainbow Six Siege round. You're not going to drone and then it's execution time and we're just going to battle for these angles. Teams like to get in their face early on and prevent DarkZero from doing what DZ want to do, and that's usually what limits DZ inside of their success. And now BC are starting to make their plays and being very active about it, and it's really getting in the way of DarkZero. It's up to DZ to try and make this adjustment, especially inside of this last round, because John, right here is 3 points. If Beast Coast end up winning this round, they're going to end up taking one of those points that could mean a lot at the end of the stage.
Potentially could take another one as well if Beast Coast completes the comeback all the way to take it for the outright win here in overtime. That would give Beast Coast 2 and DarkZero only 1 point for their troubles here today. Certainly not the way that they want it to go, but certainly a possibility as of these last few rounds. DarkZero getting the Solarium control for themselves, but just barely. Still a lot more clearing work to do as we've only played out the first minute of this round. And as you guys should probably realize by this point, these are very slow rolling rounds. We've got a long way to go before we get to the action. Might be lying about that though, as it's looking like we've got Beast Coast players right in the face of DarkZero a little bit sooner than I expected, as we have that extended hold just outside of office.
Trying to figure out necessarily what happened over here. Hyper with a great setup here on Eagle Balcony. Ended up dealing quite a bit of damage to the Valkyrie, but actually at second glance, not that much. Only 25 health away from Fozo, so it'll be about a bullet's worth of damage. Anthony, though, trying to exist up here still. He's the top frag right now for Beast Coast, as we're used to seeing at this point in time. He's been an amazing addition to this roster, and every single stage he continues to grow as a player. It's been amazing to see him so far, but as I'm saying that, Beast Coast actually end up getting their first frag. It'll be onto Eclipse. The sledge now gone, so DZ will have to look to somebody else to work this top floor, and it can't even necessarily be Hyper all except for his impacts, as he's actually running a Claymore.
Rudy with a winning angle here. He just needs somebody to step into it. So close as well. We were like 2 pixels away from seeing the head of a player from DZ, but it just doesn't line up right now for Rudy. Either way, keep in mind, Rudy doesn't need to get the kill. Rudy just needs to wait out these last 23 seconds and keep DarkZero off the site, which they're on track to do that right now. Toxic Babes continuing to stem the tide as well. They just threw the last one in because we're past the point where it's going to expire at 0 timer here. DarkZero trying to work their way in, but now we can see Beast Coast ready for this. They're ready to shut this down entirely. I say that, but DarkZero are finding kills left and right. Diffuser's gone down though. Still somebody right on top of it, and it's going to be enough. Sipping Biologic on the rest of BC. You give us a sea of kills at the end of the 12th round. They tie it up. They take us to overtime. We do not have a winner yet.
What did I say, my friend? You gotta get in their face, and you have got to make it messy. That's exactly what Beast Coast are able to do inside of that one. They keep DarkZero latched to that side of the map. They're constantly trying to deal with Solarium and the things that are going around inside of that area. Beast Coast continue to lay on the utility. We can't see DarkZero extend themselves any further. You guys see the amount of angles that they're holding around that area, don't you? Especially around Trophy. We see Rudy down low with the counter angle. He doesn't really get too much done with that. But as DarkZero progress forward into Trophy, they're worried about the west main staircase, what's happening inside of Dining, and all of these things. But most importantly, what are they waiting on? They're waiting on Beast Coast to swing. They're not pushing forward at all. They're waiting on Beast Coast to make the errors, and instead Beast Coast are sitting on the timer, using their utility to deny DarkZero any space at all. Instead, they have to try and throw it into the site at the very last second, And what do you lose to? You lose to Biologic proning through Kitchen. That isn't necessarily what's supposed to happen inside of these rounds, especially at a competitive level, but that's what's working for these guys. They have to make it messy instead of the early parts of this round for DarkZero. Slow them down and force them into poor executes where they're able to use their decision making to counter out what they're doing. Beautiful stuff from Beast Coast there. They force us to overtime and at least guarantee 1 point.
All right, so 3 more rounds get chalked up on the board as a result of that. The winner will be the one that takes 2 out of 3 of those. So 1st to 8 being played here now instead of the usual 7. Just need that 1 extra round to get you over the edge and into the winner's circle just with 1 less point, as Stokes had just mentioned. DarkZero, some good news for them is that they're going to be able to jump onto the defense once again now that we are in OT. They struggled quite a bit over on the attacking side, but even on the defense, mind you, still only able to negotiate themselves 3 rounds over the course of that half. They became much more vulnerable as we got later on into the half, similarly to how Beast Coast once again also took further control at the end of the second half too. So time to see if that extra advantage for DarkZero going back to the defensive side is going to work for them to try and net them the early advantage here in OT.
We'll have to see. Looking across the board of Beast Coast, you can see there's a couple of outliers here. Sippin 10-10 currently. Anthony 16-8, so a 2.0 KD, but if you want to add in the A there for the assists, he's also picking up that overall for, I believe, the entire lobby. Yes, 6 assists for Anthony, and then brought up by Rudy, who's currently 9-9. So brought it and made it matter when it mattered most, John. They've pushed us to OT here, and now they have an opportunity to beat DarkZero. As you were talking about previously, DarkZero will be starting things off on the defense, so they have upwards of 2 rounds on the defensive side to be successful. We'll see if BC can try and match that energy on the offense. We already have a burn of the laser gate up top. That's going to be from the Yana, as she will end up hopping that hologram through, which has been seeing a lot of teams use her utility for outside of the regular info.
So Beast Coast just using that to get themselves the initial in. Sippin also going to go for a quick hop to the inside of the downstairs side door just by the blue steps there. Nade as well, but it's going to get dodged due to a well-positioned hatch. Panba able to avoid his own death. You can even see the hole in the floor where that play would have come from. Not going to hit him this time around. Both teams keep all 5 players at full HP. Only going to be for a few more seconds here, though. Beast Coast know they need to start getting some control over the map, and they're going to look for it on the inside of Library. Pretty sure that's the Gemini, so yeah, that'll just get taken care of pretty quickly by Hyper. As once again, Beast Coast still on a fact-finding mission before they try to deploy themselves the inside of the site. Foes are so close to walking down a player there, too. The stars just did not align, and he looked away at the wrong moment.
And Beast Coast are doing a very good job of clearing out this top level. I believe they've forced Hyper out of his positioning on the balcony as well. NJR currently holding on to blue, but he's aware of someone possibly playing inside of Mud. Eclipse is here as well, and he might try and swing the door. We'll just have to see. Don't believe they want to give up anything just yet, but they at least know about the positioning, and that's truthfully what matters at the end of the day. DarkZero now starting to feel the heat of Beast Coast's offense as they're starting to wrap around the site. Sippin still inside of Mud as he'll create the angle through the single panel towards the B bomb chassis, and now has an even deeper LOS into the actual area that limits DZ from trying to get any farther forward as of right now. Although besides that, though, Beast Coast still trying to open up some new avenues to abuse, but DZ doing a very good job of delaying. They still have a lot of denial here as well, as Hyper will pick up the very first frag onto Fozo, the Nomad, now gone, and the rest of BC have to try and make something matter here. Rudy making it matter most. He'll take down Eclipse. Anthony starting to clear things out as this OT round is looking to go off like a firework. Oh my goodness gracious, 10 seconds remaining. Somebody do anything. Kills finally starting to come in, but it's mostly DZ. Sippin steps up to the plate. He'll take down Pambazoo, and Sippin gets 2 instead. It's down to BC as the plant's going down, but it's up to Rudy. He gets off the plant and pre-fires, doesn't try to stick it. It doesn't even matter. DZ winning off of the entry game. There's not enough people alive to overwatch Capitao.
Once again, another round that truly comes down to the wire before we see anyone try to fight anyone there. DarkZero, though, do get the advantage as a result of that. Like you said, the entry game just not strong enough to get control of the site, as well as the fact that it was brought down to a 1v1 at the 0 timer mark. So no way, unfortunately, for Rudy to win that. He knows if he sticks to the plant, he's a dead player, so tries to get aggressive, push the last one alive instead. BC smart, though, just sits back, waits that one out, lets it go to the 0 timer, and as such, DarkZero go ahead now in OT 7-6, one more round, and they've got this map, although with one less point than they would have gotten if they closed it out in regulation.
Man's got a big old brain inside of that cranium of his and ends up winning the round there for DarkZero. But, I mean, that round alone, John, it just, you know, for lack of a better term, just a hell in a cell. You really don't expect rounds to go that way, especially on such low time. I mean, we get the initial pick there at 15 seconds, but still, we really don't have any forward positionings being took up from BC. As they start to try and progress off of that pick, DarkZero get it done yet again on the defensive side, just picking all of them off, seemingly knowing exactly where BC want to try and move from, and get it down to, yet again, a very low man situation in between the two that DarkZero simply went out based off of either utility or time.
So with us coming down towards the wire, we're going to test that same strategy once again, more than likely. Beast Coast taking the same passive strategy against the opener from DarkZero because they know DarkZero wants to try and take the fight to them. Doesn't mean we're not going to see any aggression at all, but it has to be on Beast Coast's own time. They have to feel they're ready to make the play. They've had pretty good judgment about when to try to get aggressive here against DarkZero, and when they've executed it, normally it's led to either 1 to 2 kills going outright into their advantage for the early rounds. So time to see if they can pull that off again, and if not, what DarkZero can do against this very static hold in the late round.
You know what? Either way this goes right now, John, you have got to give it to Anthony for putting BC in this positioning, because without him, I don't think that they end up making it to overtime. He has been the player for Beast Coast that has helped them along this road up against DZ and really has been there for them throughout the stage. So excited to see what he can possibly do in this round, and if Beast Coast can take it to DarkZero and force us to the maximum side of OT using every single round that we have inside of this map. DarkZero, though, looking to be attacking in very similar ways as to what we had seen previously. This is actually going to be a top floor offense instead of a kitchen offense, but still a strong clear nevertheless. They need to worry about the kitchen positioning here for Beast Coast, because if they allow these people to exist downstairs, the nitro cells can come in at any moment in time and end up taking out a planter or anyone of importance on that top floor.
Xcara's been deployed into kitchen, of course, after the cross has been completed, so the attackers can get over there without having to worry about immediate fireback from dining room or somebody holding back kitchen. Anthony, the one that's going to man this wall here and prevent anyone from DarkZero from getting too close to the hop-in. Once again, though, we've reached this point of the round where neither team wants to be the one to make the first move here. Beast Coast is holding, DarkZero set up with trophy control, also holding themselves. But DarkZero going to become the loser this time around as a result of that. Bio able to negotiate an opening pick against Eclipse. And JR, though, trades it out against Bio before he can safely fall back. But we're just going to keep the chain going. Sipping outside now, takes down NJR. And ultimately, it's still Beast Coast with a +1 advantage here after everything goes quiet. Could be another one coming out in a second here, though. Panba scores it for DZ. BC still very close to a member of Beast Coast as well, but he doesn't know it yet.
That's Fozo down in the 3v3 going into the last 30 seconds here. DarkZero still have to be worried about what's going on downstairs. Anthony simply waiting to see what DZ do with this top floor. Currently, the case is on BC. Bambazoo going to get some solid info as to where the other 2 remaining members of Beast Coast are. Doesn't want to try and use this hologram as of right now, and you can't necessarily blame him if he goes for it right now. More than likely in a lot of trouble, but do they have the prevention from down low? So very scared as to how this happens. Hyper picks up Anthony. Bambazoo with another one here, but oh no, the shots don't land. Finally gets to go through. BC will pick up the other one. It's a team ace technically for the last 3 members of DarkZero. They'll win out the game in overtime and continue their over 80% win rate in OT.
It's a long journey to get there, but DarkZero definitely get it done. The stubbornness to their strategy becomes their saving grace, as well as the thing that costs them to lose a few rounds. It's very weird how this plays out for DarkZero, but ultimately works for them at the end of the matchup. They take control, 8-6 being the final score. Another 2 points going up on the league boards for them. And fortunately for beastcoast, although they take a loss today, they will also be getting a point for at least making it to overtime.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, big ups to Beast Coast there for at least pushing that to OT. And an amazing game there, especially for Anthony, but pretty lackluster when it came to Fozo and Bio. But nevertheless, an amazing series there for DZ. Excited to hear what the desk have to